first visit to Egypt, especially at this juncture where a lot of things take place, and we're all following the serious developments in this region. We welcome the Secretary of State, as we welcome the role of the United States as the main sponsor of the peace process and as a friend of Egypt. The meeting with the President, between President and the Secretary, went through all the items on the agenda, from bilateral to regional to the peace process and other issues of common concern. It went very well. Also, our meeting, which lasted for quite some time, touched on those issues too. We look forward to working together in order to bring back the peace process on track and reach a just and lasting peace as soon as possible, and put an end to the tragic situation in the occupied territories, and also, of course, on the other issues pertaining to the stability in the region. We will continue to be in touch and in consultations. If you wish to say a few words, I'd be most grateful.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Minister, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be back in Egypt and to have had the opportunity to meet and consult with President Mubarak and with the Foreign Minister. I've known President Mubarak for many, many years, and it is good to renew that friendship. He is looked to as a wise leader not only by his own people, but by people throughout the region and throughout the world. And this occasion also gave me the opportunity to strengthen my relationship with the Foreign Minister, and I look forward to working with him in the months and in the years ahead. President Bush asked me to make Egypt the first stop on my Middle East trip, to seek the advice and counsel of President Mubarak on several critical issues, and we discussed the deterioration of the situation between the Palestinians and the Israelis and the escalating violence which is causing us all such concern. In our conversations, we recommitted ourselves to the search for peace based on UN Security Council Resolutions 242 and 338. We also discussed the need to relieve the burden on the Iraqi people while strengthening controls on Saddam Hussein's efforts to develop weapons of mass destruction and the means for their delivery. Egypt and the United States have a long-standing and extensive military-to-military relationship, which grew stronger as we stood as comrade in arms to defend an Arab state, Kuwait, from unprecedented aggression some 10 years ago. And we stand ready today to meet any similar challenge to the international integrity and security of the states in the region. We are also cooperating, as you all know, to develop new opportunities for trade and investment and to strengthen Egypt's participation in the global economy. We will meet again shortly, and I look forward to that meeting. And President Bush has invited President Mubarak to visit Washington on April 2nd, and President Mubarak has accepted that invitation. And President Bush and I look forward to seeing him then to further cement our strong relationship with Egypt. Thank you very much.
Secretary Powell, may I ask
Okay, okay, go ahead.
The Egyptian press editorial commentary that we've seen here has been bitterly aggressive in denouncing the U.S. role and in not welcoming you very, very critically. And I'm wondering whether you believe you accomplished anything during your meetings to assuage those concerns about the airstrikes against Iraq and the continuing sanctions. I'd like your comments, Minister Moussa, as well.
No, go ahead. My
Well,
guest.
I received a very warm welcome from the leaders, and I know there is some unhappiness as expressed in the Egyptian press, and I understand that. But at the same time, with respect to the no-fly zones and the airstrikes that we, from time to time, have to conduct to defend our pilots, I just want to remind everybody that the purpose of those no-fly zones and the purpose of those occasional strikes to protect our pilots is not to pursue an aggressive stance toward Iraq, but to defend the people that the no-fly zones were put in to defend. The people in the southern part of Iraq and the people in the northern part of Iraq. And these zones have a purpose, and their purpose is to protect people, protect Arabs, not to affect anything else in the region. And we have to defend ourselves. We will always try to consult with our friends in the region so that they are not surprised, and do everything we can to explain the purpose of our presence. We had a good discussion, both the foreign minister and I and the president and I had a good discussion about the nature of the sanctions, the fact that the sanctions exist not for the purpose of hurting the Iraqi people, but for the purpose of keeping in check Saddam Hussein's ambitions toward developing weapons of mass destruction. We should constantly be reviewing our policies, constantly be looking at those sanctions to make sure that they are directed toward that purpose. That purpose is every bit as important now as it was 10 years ago when we began it. And frankly, they have worked. He has not developed any significant capability with respect to weapons of mass destruction. He is unable to project conventional power against his neighbors. So in effect, our policies have strengthened the security of the neighbors of Iraq, and these are policies that we're going to keep in place, but we're always willing to review them to make sure that they're being carried out in a way that does not affect the Iraqi people, but does affect the Iraqi regime's ambitions and ability to acquire weapons of mass destruction. And we had a good conversation on this issue.
Did you make progress?
I would wish to borrow two expressions from what the Secretary has just said, that this situation should be under constant reviewing. So it's not